Good morning, everyone. This is Meghna Yadav, the presenter of the session today. On behalf of KLAY Prep Schools and Daycare, I extend a very warm welcome to each one of you. And thank you so much for coming in time for this very beautiful session today. I would request you to stay online for a couple of minutes more because we will start. We see the numbers increasing and let's give some more time to people to join in and we will start in time, probably 2-3 minutes from now. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is Meghna Yadav, the presenter of the session today. On behalf of KLAY Prep Schools and Daycare, I extend a very warm welcome to each one of you, and I believe all of you keeping yourself and family safe. My good wishes to each one of you, and thank you so much for coming online for this interesting session today. We are going to talk about a bit uh, of this phenomenon, which is new to India, but we see it's being widely used now in Indian urban parenting. And because this month, KLAY is celebrating Father's Day and more or less thinking about equal parenting, we thought, why not bring this to your door? And let's see and let's hear from you as well. What do you think about it? And do you see your friends or yourself using it in your beautiful journey of parenting? So let's try to understand and see what it is all about and how do we customize it to Indian traditional style of parenting. just to make you comfortable for the Q&A session, because we will save enough time at the end where you can type your questions, your thoughts in the chat window. I would request you to not hesitate in asking your questions or sharing your thoughts other than the topic of discussion, simply because we act, we would learn from each other. I will try my best to answer your questions in my best capacity. So I would request you to kindly write your thoughts or questions in the chat window, and feel free to make this session interactive, and let's try to learn from each other. I'll take up the questions on first comes up, first serve basis, just so that you feel comfortable in posting your questions. So let me introduce myself to you. So I'm a certified child psychologist and family counselor. The age range that I'm certified to work with is 0 to 18 years. I am a retired person now. I am done with the corporate style of functioning and decided to say goodbye to it. And now I run my consultancy with multiple companies in countries like US, Canada, Singapore, Australia, and India. KLAY Prep Schools and Daycare is my only client in India. And I work for training and development initiatives as well as parent partnership initiatives at KLAY. I feel honored. I feel privileged that I am associated with this beautiful cause of parent partnership. And KLAY is doing a fabulous job in bringing the preschool providers and parents on the same page. Keeping that in mind, we conduct this parent education programs through various experts within the company, within the organization, and I was asked to talk about something related to both dads and moms, and I thought, what better than talking about equal parenting? So the concept of equal parenting is something new to us. So I thought, why not? We will start the session with what exactly it is and how it works in Indian context, especially the impact that it brings to us and our children, and what's the model to go forward, like how do we sustain it. I have tried my level best to customize it from the Indian perspective, because when I work with parents, thousands of parents of KLAY prep schools and daycare, myself also being a mother of two, a boy and girl, and I use part of equal parenting in my parenting. So parents, before we start talking about it or before we try to understand this, I would say this is a concept which was originated in USA. So you can call it a Western concept. So it cannot be copied as such in Indian context, simply because Indian parenting is unique. I myself follow Indian parenting style. When I was doing my master's in child psychology in California, I realized that Indians have a very unique flavor of parenting compared to other parts of world, and that's something. If you ask me, I'm very proud of as mommy of my two children. So anything that comes, which is coming close to equal parenting, I would say we really need to understand it from our traditional style of parenting or from our own thought processes of raising children, simply because we have to merge it in what we are doing already. So let's try to understand what exactly it is and how can we imbibe the best practices, at least by through understanding of equal parenting. So technically, if you ask me, it is very much like a purposeful practice of two individuals. They are functioning very much in the same way in various domains of parenting. So it's very much, as the name says, we are equally contributing in raising our children. There are not much of differentiations or differences in contribution. And let's see how we can do it uh, while we keep our original style intact. How can we add on to our original style of parenting? I'm not asking you to make a change drastically while you raise your children, because I might sound like a broken record to you. Some of the names that I see in the participant list are very familiar to me. So thank you so much for coming again and again to these webinars that we conduct for you. That actually motivates us to do better, and we really feel honored. Keeping that in mind, I would say, parents, it's very difficult to change your original or natural style. And I would say, mm, I have conducted a couple of webinars in past, and I would say, please, parents, don't change your natural style of parenting drastically. Don't get into artificial mode of parenting after reading a bit or so, simply because that is something we discourage to an extent that this will give you highly confusing aspects, and we don't want you to do that. We really don't want you to uh, change or grasp something new and abruptly start following it, because your children will be equally confused. What is it with my mom's style today, and what is going on? So let's try to understand how can we bring this very concept into our parenting without uh, drastically changing our original or natural style of parenting. So the very first thing, most of the parents, those who work with me, so this particular session, I have taken up the content based on my conversations with thousands of families, based on my one-on-one counseling sessions that I do. On an average, I meet around 35 to 40 parents in a day nowadays through virtual interactions. But yes, we do see the traits or the traces of equal parenting in various families. So most of the time, especially daddies, they say to me that, okay, how do I contribute? How do I participate in parenting? Because now the baby is here. But I would say to each and every parent in that direction that daddies and mommies, equal parenting starts much, much before that. So don't think that the baby comes in this world, you hold a beautiful baby in your hand, and suddenly you will get into the mode of equal parenting where both of you are dividing tasks and both of you are working very much of the same way or in the same fashion. That's not going to happen overnight. So the very first thing that we need to know is that parents, it need a lot of clarity in your mind, and it needs some, if not all, some kind of preparation behind it. So those mommies and daddies who are listening to me, who are expecting or are planning to extend the family, I would say thank you so much for coming at this time. I do have many questions. Sometimes when I take webinars from soon to be dad or soon to be mom, I'm so glad to see that. And if you are in that category, please understand that this concept has to come to your mind much before the child arrives to this world, simply because you have to have the very basic foundation. The sense of respect for each other is something of high significance when you talk about equal parenting. And why I'm so much talking about equal parenting is simply because both mom and dad bring a very unique flavor to parenting. But mom has a very unique style of raising children, and so is true for daddy. So both mom and dad, you might have your difference of opinions. When I am raising my two children, a boy and girl, I sometimes feel, what are you doing when my husband walks with my children, but I have to force myself to keep quiet because I know Daddy Dear brings a unique flavor through his own style of parenting. And as a mommy, when two of my children and daddy are spending time with each other, I better leave them with them rather than intervening or guiding or suggesting, don't do this, it's unhealthy. So you really have to start working on it even before the birth of the child, before you get into parenting zone. So parents, if you have or not yet received your beautiful bundle of joy in your hands, it's high time to think about it. And those parents who already have parents, no harm, you are not too late. Whenever you get up, it's morning. So I would say it's a great idea to start thinking about it now. I came to know about this style of parenting, in fact, before after the birth of my first child. So no harm in learning whenever you think it is the right time to learn. Now, most of the time, parents talk to me about equal parenting, that I'm supposed to contribute more or less while raising my children. So, equal parenting is all about child raising. I'm sorry to say it's actually not only about child raising, parents. It is actually a combination of four significant pillars, and we really need to think from these four perspectives while we are raising our children, simply because apart from child raising, equal parenting counts into breadwinning, household work, and also time for self. So now this is a concept given by Mark and Amy Wetton in USA, highly used, and there are books on it as well. But when I work with the Indian parents, and when I work with my own children as parent, I really feel that we cannot blindly follow the concept. As I said in the beginning of the session, we have to customize it to our style of parenting. So, based on my conversations with various parents, and close to 800 parents with whom I work are using the styles of equal parenting very much in these four dimensions. So, I have taken the tips from them as well and created these basic tips for you to follow. I would again say, parents, please understand that your family is unique. You are unique. Your child is unique, so kindly take these points with pinch of salt, because I would recommend you to decide basis on your family thread. I can provide you some very basic and general guidelines to inculcate or to bring the concept of equal parenting in your current style of parenting. But I would still recommend you to decide basis on your family thread and your very basic goal of parenting. Kindly not blindly follow what is being suggested here, simply because it has to become a part of your already existing parenting. Kindly not change it overnight. That's what I'm saying again and again, and that's very important factor. So with due respect to your current style of parenting, I would say, let's try to understand what all can be added and what you need to think from the perspective of equal parenting. So mom and dad, I hope both of you are listening to me. If you are not present with your partner here, I would request you to share these points with your partner, because until unless both of you are on the same page, it is very, very difficult to bring the concept of equal parenting in your journey of parenting. So the very first thing about child raising is I have given you some pointers on how it works and what you need to do about it. So the very first thing in child raising is, parents, when you want to contribute equally, kindly understand that the time alone, which is between the time between a mommy and the child, and the time between daddy and the child or children, need to be pretty much the same. The very first thing is, it's not that mommy is spending 10 hours of day and daddy is spending 2 hours of day. No, that's not going to work. So whatever time God has given you, kindly divide it equally so that both of you get equal amount of time, which is your time with your child. And you really will gradually know both. Both of you will enjoy this journey of knowing your children emotionally, practically, socially. So one day mommy takes them out for playing, and the another day daddy takes them out for playing. In current scenarios, when we are all homebound, protecting our families and struggling to give the right kind of exposure to our children when it comes to socialization, I would really request you to take note of that. Even in this time of crisis, when our children are living a routine which was not present in their lives before this phase of pandemic, I would say it's an even in this case, even in this crisis, the child raising comes equally to both when a family follows a equally shared parenting or equal parenting. And the beauty in this is, like I work with some teenagers who were raised in equal share parenting, is that they say that, oh, my mom has a very different style of functioning than my daddy. My mom makes food very differently than my daddy. My daddy creates a mess in the kitchen and while cooking, and he cleans it up at the very end, while my mom keeps cleaning the kitchen as and when things are going on. So these kind of things I often hear from teenagers because they were raised in equally shared parenting. But the beauty of this is that both the parents or both mom and dad contribute significantly to raising children, and that's so beautiful scene to watch. But here are some precautions or some steps that both of you need to take. So, mommy dear, I would request you to understand the concept of let go before you enter into this style of parenting, or before you add on this style of parenting to your current style of functioning. Simply because sometimes we as mothers, and I am the equal culprit in that. I am also that kind of mommy at times. That I sometimes want to intervene. I sometimes want to participate when my partner is interacting with my children. That, hey, no, this is not the right way to do it, or how can you do it better, or no, don't say this, don't do this, oh, it's dangerous. These kind of feelings come often to us. So this is a very research proven aspect. It's not coming from me, but there are multiple research in that direction where mommies struggle to let go when it comes to parenting. I would really request you to understand that sometimes it's okay, even if daddy interacts in his unique way with the children. You might not agree with it, but I would recommend heavily to not intervene in that moment. You might share your differences later, but when your uh, partner is interacting with children, try to let go. Daddies, on the other hand, I would really request you to understand that in equally shared parenting, there is no concept like gender specific task related to child raising, that mommy will cook and I will go on the bike ride with children. No, 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 this is not going to work like that. So you really have to come out of your preconceived notions about parenting. Daddy can also cook and mommy can also take children out on bike ride. So if that is something that comes easily to you with your clear communication among each other, you can sustain this kind of parenting for sure. And trust me, parents, I work with thousands of family and close to 800 22, if I need to be precise, parents I'm currently working with, who are using this style of parenting, not necessarily in totality, but yes, some parts of it they are using for sure. So apart from child raising, as I said, this particular style of parenting goes into breadwinning also, household related tasks also, and also um, the time for self. So let's try to see how we are supposed to function in other style or other dimensions. So apart from child raising, if I need to talk about breadwinning, parents understand that in this style of functioning, both mom and dad are responsible for financial growth of the family. So both of you are working mostly in such a style of parenting. You might be having different zones of functioning, different professions of functioning. That's perfectly fine. You need not to be in the same profession or same style of work commitments or hours commitment. But please understand, in this style, the career for both is equally important. It's not that daddy dear thinks that, oh, my career is more important than mommy's career. If that is something going on as undercurrent in your family, kindly stop it, kindly check it. Otherwise, you won't be able to succeed in equally shared parenting, simply because each one of you respect each other's career compulsions, professional compulsions, and commitments. And you might have to make very crucial decisions at time. Sometimes you really have to come to a common ground that whether even if I end up earning more, should I take up this job which will require me to travel 5 days a week? If that is the case, should we do it? And this has to come from the discussion from both the parents, and one single parent cannot take this kind of decision on his or her own, that oh, this is very important for my professional goal, so I will opt it. Now you decide how will you manage family and home. This kind of setup will not work in equally shared parenting. So I would heavily recommend to you that parents show your maturity here. Have a long discussion before you make any kind of professional commitment, because that will impact your family life for sure. And various studies of the families working in equally shared parenting style highlight that dads are found to be struggling more with this aspect than mommies. Sometimes dad feel that their career is not the desired pace. They are not having the desired style of growth that they perceived for themselves. So it's my precautionary measure, or I would say it's my humble suggestion, that if you really want to contribute in equally shared parenting, where both of you are participating equally in raising children, kindly understand that your professional commitments will impact your personal life. And that's why you really have to make a very sound and well thought decision, well informed decision about breadwinning and how much you want to enter into your professional spheres, where you are supposed to say no to certain professional commitments, because your children and family might suffer because of that. So this is something a very personal choice, but please keep this in mind. I cannot give you general suggestions more in this direction. But yes, daddies, please take note of this very fact, that it is a bigger struggle for you than mommies, and this is what studies highlight. The third pillar of equally shared parenting, housework. I somehow love this aspect because I strongly believe that when the family has the very basic daily chores going in smooth way, they are going in a very easy fashion, then it not only impacts the mood of the family members, it also helps in having a lot of more and productive family time. So for me, housework is plays a key role apart from professional commitments, where I would say parents in equally shared parenting, there is nothing like it is a mommy's job or it is a daddy's job. A job is a job, and anyone in the family can do it. A task is there. If dishes are dirty in the sink, then it is not waiting for mommy to come to be cleaned. It can be cleaned by daddy too. So if there is a laptop which is not functioning, it should not be waiting for daddy to check and work on this on it to um, help it working again. It should be mommy also who can take care of it. So we really need to work very consciously. It is something that we technically call as conscious effort. So you really need to give this conscious effort uh, about uh, gender specific or gender biased functioning, that kitchen is for mommy and garage is for daddy. This is something that we really need to come out of that. And I would say, mommies and daddies, even though this is something not of your interest, for example, uh, cleaning up the yard, in the sense cleaning up the garden or cleaning up the plants, I would heavily recommend to you that even if you are not good at it or so, kindly try doing it, and the other partner need to give this much space and accept the mediocrity of the task while the partner is mastering it. So understand that if daddy dear is baking something or cooking something, it might not come out the very best, but accept it, move on, and both mom and dad need to appreciate each other's efforts rather than the final product. It is all about the process rather than about the final product. So think on those lines and choose the team approach rather than the specialized method where everything will come out perfect. I can tell you one example from one of the family which is doing a fabulous job in following shared parenting. So the mommy dear said, whenever my husband folds the laundry, it's so awful, Meghna. It's so awful that I hate to see it in my cupboard. It's very much like a very clumsy, untidy style of folding laundry. But after I talked to you, I have started keeping quiet and accepting it. And gradually, my husband is now getting better at folding the clothes of especially my newborn. So I would say, parents, this is something, and I can quote many such examples. This is something that we need to digest many a times and accept the way it is. I will also tell you one example from a daddy. So, daddy said that the mommy takes the children for bicycling in the evening nowadays, also, even because children cannot go out and play and work. So, mommy takes the children out for bicycling, but she always forgets the helmets of children. And he says, I find it very annoying. It's very difficult for me to keep quiet about it. But I try my best because I know mommy dear will get into this mode where she needs to carry the helmets of children, and children will also learn this aspect that they need to carry helmets while they go out for bicycling. So these are the things I would say, parents, we need to learn from such families, because sometimes you really need to avoid the temptation to intervene or guide. Accept it the way the other partner is doing it. It need not to reach to the level of perfection. Accept the way it is being done. The last and most important thing, or the pillar of equal parenting or equally shared parenting. The beauty of this is that if one parent is spending time with child or children, you can use that time for yourself, and there is no guilt behind it, because you know that your children are in safe, and you know that your partner is bonding with the children, and that's a beautiful thing to do. So I would say, equally shared parenting, the beauty of that is that it allows a lot of time for yourself. You find some time during the day where you are all by yourself, and that's very important in maintaining your sanity, because it is highly required, even in today's world when we are bombarded with working from home, working for home. We are struggling to make ends meet. This is of high significance that you find time for yourself. And you need to invest in your own emotional health the way you invest in your physical health. So take care of yourself before you take care of your children. I am getting questions already. I'll take it up one after another for sure. Let me just wrap up this session quickly so that I have enough time to answer your questions. Thank you so much for your encouraging words. If you are finding it useful, thank you so much. And I would really recommend parents. This is a very general and very basic guideline given to you based on the studies that come out. I would heavily recommend you to choose it wisely, see what works in your family, and then follow it. But yes, the families that have followed it, their children, it's something that most of the time parents ask me, so Meghna, am I doing it all for myself? Am I doing it because I want my time? I want to contribute in breadwinning for family. I want to have an equally shared child raising. Is it all about me? But the beauty of equally shared parenting is actually it is beneficial to adults for sure. The parents are highly benefited, but that's not the end of the story. The other side of the story is that children raised in families that have equally shared parenting concept are found to be doing very, very good in emotional intelligence. They very new research coming in this direction that clearly highlight that children are not getting into gender stereotypes. They are respecting both the genders equally because they don't see it happening in their family, because there are no gender specific tasks, there are no gender stereotypes while picking up the task of homework or breadwinning or child raising. So this is a very beautiful aspect related to it, and I would say children are found to be doing better in decision making capacities. So parents, it's not only you who will get your me time, who will have a balanced approach to life, who will enjoy the parenting. It's very much like hand and glove situation. Both of you are very much on the same page while raising your children, and your stress levels are very really really low if a family follows equally shared parenting. Apart from that, children are equally getting benefited, and that's really, I would say, a great benefit behind it. And the end of the story, like if we have to summarize whatever we have discussed in past few minutes, I would say parents understand that you are passing on this to your children too, because human brain is highly interrelated. You know, your children are watching you 24/7. Your children are really following what you are doing. You might say 100 things to do them, but even if you do only 10 things to them, trust me, they will absorb what you are doing rather than what you are saying. So you do, I do works perfectly in this scenario. And parent dear, you are really contributing in raising the children who will respect others, who will respect every single profession, who will respect and understand that family is a unit which is more or less based on contribution from each end and from everybody equally. So this is something of great value, and in today's world, trust me, I will never underestimate the power of intelligence, analytical skills, but the power of leadership, the power of team management, the power to lead a team is something very much rooted in emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is something that comes beautifully in children where both daddy and mommy contribute. So I rest my case here because I'm having a couple of questions already unanswered. So I would start. Okay, we have recording of this session. Yes, for sure. I generally record a summary also of every session, and we put it on the website of KLAY Prep Schools and Daycare. So I would really request you to go on the website after some time, not very soon, but yes, in a week or so, you will get the link for the summary of this session, and please feel free to check that on. I would also recommend you to share that with your partner, because if we are talking about equally involved or equally shared parenting, both of you need to know the basics before you enter into it. So please do share if you can. Okay, I'm a mother of 6 months old child. My child is more inclined towards other family members than me. He responds well to them than to me. It's sad at times. Is this my possessiveness or it generally happens? How to handle and suggest me with corrections? Oh, such a beautiful, beautiful question. My big hug to you, mommy. Um, or daddy, I would say you are not alone, and you are not the first one who is asking this question to me. I'll tell you about how children perceive parenting, and how, especially infants, since you have 6 months old, work with parents. So, parents come to children as caregivers. They really come across as somebody with whom I am safe, somebody with whom I am at peace, and within first 3 weeks of childbirth, the child can relate with the smell of the mommy and the body odor of daddy. They relate with the voices that you create, the voice decibels that you create around your infant, and that is something of high significance to the child, simply because the child is exploring and relating to you. In this process, if a mommy is breastfeeding, if a daddy is changing diaper or so, the child tends to get attached to. And the basis on the attachment, whether it's a secure and safe attachment that is developed between you and your child, the child responds. Now, this differentiation is something that is not purely rooted in your insecurity or possessiveness. No, you might have seen that your child is interacting more or responding more. I would say, parent, to answer your question, please understand that on an average, we end up doing two kinds of parenting to our children. One is instrumental parenting, and another one is affective parenting. Instrumental parenting is when you do the daily chores with your children. I have explained it in a couple of my past webinars. I'll do that again to answer your question. So, instrumental parenting is when you change the diaper of your baby, when you feed your baby. Your child is already 6 months. I hope you are starting solids now. You feed your baby, you do all the daily chores, giving baths, changing dresses, cleaning up of children, changing diapers. All these things come under the category of instrumental parenting. Affective parenting is when you read a book, when you sing a lullaby to your child, when you play with your child, when you go for walks with your child. So these all things come under the category of affective parenting. Now, in this humdrum of life, when we are short of time and we really struggle to find time for our children, and if you feel that your child is not responding much to your cues, or is getting attached to other family members much more than you, then probably, parent dear, you need to understand that you might be spending more time in effective parenting, but the need of the hour is actually this instrumental parenting. So, if God has given you 10 minutes, instead of going for a walk with your baby or reading a book to your baby, I would say change the diaper. If you really want to connect, and if you really want to create a long lasting bond with your baby, give birth to your child rather than uh, taking your child out or playing with your child. So, studies have clearly highlighted that when a parent spends a crucial amount of time in instrumental parenting, doing the daily chores of the newborn or the babies, and even older children, that's when the bond is everlasting. That's when the child is able to connect best. And that's when the child understands your cues the way he or she should. So I would heavily recommend you to do that. Part of it is rooted in your possessiveness, which is great. Every new mom and dad feels so. So don't worry much about it. But yes, part of it is rooted in the very fact that you need to put efforts in developing bonds with your children, and parent dear, find the right ways to connect and bond with your children. Our parents actually did that unknowingly, and they were more into instrumental parenting rather than effective parenting, to answer your question. So try that. I hope I could answer your question, parent dear, and you will try to follow it. Don't worry much, but yes, contribute significantly in child raising. You will see the difference. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Next question coming my way is that my partner is glued to screen and is not participating much into child raising. What should I do? You are not alone, dear. This is a very common scene. And I would heavily recommend you to understand one simple aspect related to that is that uh, the kind of parenting or the kind of involvement that daddies have in our society is actually majority is not much into 100% contribution from their end. They are not very much motivated because their friends, their own daddies were probably not so involved in child raising. That was more or less a task of mommies, if I can say that. In fact, I will tell you, to answer your question, the very first session that I took in the year 1999 related to parenting, the room was all full of women. I'm not kidding. It was not even a single daddy present over there. Now, when I go for face to face sessions, even in today's list, I would say 60% of daddies are listening to me. So, this is a very great scene to watch. I'm so happy to see this transition that daddies are contributing now in parenting and they want to know about parenting. So I would say, mommy dear, you are very right in saying that the partner is not inclined to participate much. But please understand that this is a new phenomenon. They have not seen this kind of parenting in past. Equally shared parenting is a very new phenomenon to Indian urban parenting. I work with many Anganwadi workers also, and they are very much into a very different style of parenting. We cannot bring the same kind of concepts to them. So, why I attempted to bring this kind of concept to your door is simply because I'm hopeful that urban Indian parenting style will imbibe this concept of equally shared parenting. So, give your partner some time, it will not happen overnight. But one thing is for sure, communication helps big time here. Very much like you, I work with many families where partner is not much inclined in changing diapers. I know many dads who call moms the moment the child poops because they say that mom will change the diaper, not me. And I'm not kidding. This is a realistic picture that I'm telling you. So, yes, daddies take time. You're not saying it just out of the blue. I can understand that's a challenge. Communication, first thing is communication. Express to your partner that you are exhausted, you need support. Sometimes, with daddies, there is a phenomenon. I work with many dads who come to me, especially new dads, when the child is under the age group of 3 or 4 years. They come to me and they say, hey, Meghna, I want to contribute in parenting. I don't know how. What is my role? What do I do? In fact, if I have to tell you, Daddy Dear can be of some help is something my most famous session, because most of the dads are clueless sometimes. How do they contribute? So take baby steps, go to your partner, talk about it that you are exhausted, and break the task in very small things, very much like you break for a child. So don't say that I want you to do no, your partner will get lost. So just give one particular task every single day. It can be as simple as making bed. That morning when I get up, can you help in making bed? Can you fold the bed sheets and put it in the cupboard? This much you should start with, and then gradually add on to task. uh, I would not recommend you to route it through your children, that you send your children to go and talk to the partner. No, don't do that. This won't give you the results. So try that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Next question. Thank you. Thank you if you found it useful. Uh, uh, the next question is about teenage parenting. Oh, wow. Something very close to my heart. Teenage parenting and how to bring equally shared parenting in the concept of raising children. Preteens, I think you have two children, one in preteen and another one in teenage. Okay. Well, I would say, even if you want to introduce this concept in preteens or teenagers, I would heavily recommend to you to understand that it is basically walk the talk. So the more you don't follow gender stereotypes while raising your children, the better it is absorbed by your children. So even if you have a boy and girl and they are not helping you much in doing daily chores, then it is high time that you introduce this concept in your family. It will give you great benefit in terms of participation from children. But there is something called as choice board. I wish I could have shown to you if I had enough time. I don't have it right now, but probably in my future webinars I'll talk to you in depth about how do you bring your children to the level where they participate in family chores. So there is something called choice board where you make some squares on a piece of paper and write the task like water plant, planting the new plants, watering the plants, cleaning up the dirty dishes, folding the laundry, mending the broken chair, these kind of stuff you do with your children. And you paste it and tell them approximately this will take 10 minutes, this will take 20 minutes, and allow your children to choose. So, both for your preteen and teenager, I would say, please make this choice board, put it on your refrigerator, and ask them, okay, child one will do so and so today, child two will do so and so today, and leave the task with them. They can choose any time during the day when they will do it, but you don't end up doing this task for them. And that is very important. So let's say your child one has chosen, okay, I'll water the plants today. Now it is on your child when he or she will water. It is on your child how she or he will water the plants. You need not to give much guidance to your grown up children now, but ensure that they do it. And if they don't do it, it is on them that they have to find some kind of added task to it because they did not finish the task in time. Try these things, it should help you. Talking a lot about I'm exhausted and I need help also helps in some families, if not all. So try that, parent dear. It should help you. And it should give you enough benefit in the sense that you can bring the concept of equally shared parenting and equally shared work among your children also. Okay. Oh, feeding. Next question. I get exhausted while feeding my children because they don't eat up in time. They roam around. I have to run behind them, and my partner is not participating in that. Uh, See, I would say you are saying it that I need support from my partner in this case when you have to run behind your children and to feed them. The reality in this, mommy dear, is that you have to need ask support from your children, not from your partner, because running behind them or showing a screen to your children while feeding is a crime committed by you or your partner. But your children are now into this phase where they will not eat on their own. So just to give you a perspective on that, let me tell you, we heavily recommend that 0 to 6 months, milk is a miracle diet. Feed your children as much as possible through milk. But the moment your child celebrates the 6 month in this world, try to introduce solids because it is high time you introduce solids to them. By the age of 12 to 14 months, you should not make anything specific for your child when it comes to eating. Give them whatever you are eating in a match form. Don't make specific meals for your children. By the age of 18 to 24 months, I mean to say, by the time your child celebrates the second birthday, your child should be eating all by himself or herself. Your child might be creating a mess on the floor. Your child might take a bath in food. You might have a lot of spillovers around, and you really see a mess around the child. But I would heavily recommend you to not feed your child. No, don't do that, mommy dear. It's a crime, and the bigger crime in that is you end up showing a screen to your child while feeding. That's very unhealthy, because when my eyes and my brain is glued to the screen, then whatever you feed me, mommy dear, my body is not getting the signals to digest it. So I would heavily recommend you to understand that you are actually not doing any good to your child if you're showing a screen while feeding, or if you're running behind and child is dancing here and there. To solve this problem, I would say, mommy, understand first of all that this is unhealthy for the child, because uh, the digestion starts when the child picks up the food from the fingers, his or her own fingers, and puts it in the mouth. The first step of digestion is the finger or the hand that is used in putting the food articles in the mouth. The second step is at the lips. When I bite, when I chew it, that's when my digestion starts. And if you are feeding to your child, then both of these steps are gone. They are not happening. So how can you imagine that your child will digest the food that you are feeding? So parent dear, understand that this is a bigger problem than you perceive, and stop doing it right away, right away. How do you behave now? So something we call it as RSD, restaurant style dining. Restaurant style dining is very much like you bring all your food articles at one place. I'm not asking you to lit candles or make it fancy. The very basic thing is that all of you sit together and eat together. So that's very important here. So bring everything that you have planned for the menu of the dinner or lunch, and have it with your children all together. Let your children serve food to everybody. Let them play with the food articles. That's also fine. But please don't start feeding your children. Even if they run around, you don't get up and run behind them. Keep calling them, come back, come back, come back, and don't see miracles coming within a day. On an average, it takes around 62 to 64 days to come out of this bad habit. So give yourself that much time, mommy dear. Don't rush for it. And I would heavily recommend you to understand that it is something that will take its own time. So you might see a dip in the intake of food. Be ready for that, but eventually you will win the war and take it further. So try that. And for screen time, I would say, even if sky falls, just stop it and inform your children. No, there is no way you will get it ever again with the meal. Screen time is healthy. I won't deny, I won't say zero to it. But I would heavily recommend to you that you need to give screen time only when you are not having meals together. Please, parents, stop this bad habit right away. It's a crime that we end up doing to our children. And please stop it right away. So it's not about equally shared parenting, to be honest. It's more about your habits and children habit of eating. You really need to take support from your children. Talk to your partner that both of us need to give very straight and clear messages to our children that no screen time while eating, nobody will run behind you. So don't pamper, and both of you come together on this conclusion that we need to work for it, and give yourself close to 62 to 64 days before you see some changes in the lifestyle of children. Yeah. Okay. I think I answered another question already about screen time and feeding. So I will move on to the next question. 10-year-old kid and 14-year-old kid. My 10-year-old is eager to sleep with us, but my elder kid wants to sleep with her sister in separate bedroom. What I can do in this case? My elder one feeling sad sometimes. Well, I would say for the age group that you have given to me, mommy, 10 years and 14 years, I would heavily recommend to you to understand that this is the right age where your children should be sleeping in on their own and all by themselves. So if the children are having the same gender, like both of them are girls, then you can ask them to sleep in a separate room, but both of them can sleep together. I'm very fine with this very concept of children sleeping with each other if they have the same gender. Okay, great. Then please go ahead and do that. But on an average, this is a very debatable topic. Some newborn and new moms and new dads ask me this question, whether the child should sleep with us or should we put the child to the crib. And this is a very personal decision. There are studies in this direction that give us pattern, both in the same, like there are studies that tell us very clearly that sometimes it is healthy for a child to sleep separately, and sometimes the child needs it and they need the cuddle and the love that parents give while sleeping, so they need it to be more like that. But the age group that you have shared with me, both your children are mature enough to take care of themselves and sleep by themselves. I would not recommend you to continue having the younger one with you. It is high time that they are their own and sleep separately. How do you do it? Talk to your younger one and tell very clearly that the moment you celebrated your 10th birthday, you are now ready to sleep on your own. You are no more in one digit, you are now in two digit. And this gives the confidence to the younger one that, oh yeah, I am a big boy or big girl now and I can sleep on my own. And you really need to ensure that the transition is smooth, so don't do it abruptly in one day, that now today onward you will sleep separately. First few days, especially 8 to 10 days, I would heavily recommend you to go and put the children to bed in their bedrooms, and while you lie next to them. Once they are into deep sleep, then you come out of the room. Keep the doors open, because sometimes these children will come back to your bed in the middle of the night, and that's perfectly fine. Allow that to happen in first 10 days. Gradually you ask them to go back and sleep in their bedrooms, even if they come to your bed during the night. And gradually you will tell them that now both of you will help each other in going to bed, and do it very gradual progression. Please don't do it abruptly like a cold turkey style. That will not help you. Yeah. Okay, I have a 5-year-old and he needs constant attention. I'm unable to concentrate on any office task. Before I could think a line of work, he has 100 things to say. I don't get me time and you are struggling. You and your partner tries to help in doing chores and feeding the kid, but the kid constantly need my attention, tired and stressed. What should I do? More members in family, but they are not bothered by kid at all. He just needs me. Okay. I would heavily recommend you one thing in this direction, because there are multiple adults involved. So I can say that a lot of stimulation is present around the child, and you really need to understand, mommy dear. We are running out of time, but I will answer your question because you're so tired and stressed, and I don't want to leave it in between. I would say, understand, mommy, that it is not only your responsibility to take care of the child. So I'm glad that you and your partner both are trying to help you. 5-year-old children are coming back again and again to you for asking something or the other, or keep saying da, 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 mama, mama, mama. You hear this a lot of time. And if this is happening in your family, then let me tell you, you are supporting your child much more than the child needs. You are giving a lot of attention to your child. Your child probably is not in need of this much. So the moment your child comes to you for da 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 da, like, can you play with me? Can you do this for me? This is broken. So your answer again and again to this child should be, how can you help yourself? Can you find something for yourself? I am sorry, I have this one to take. So first thing is, you direct your child back to themselves rather than solving the problem at that very moment. It is a good idea, mommy, to not solve a problem sometimes for your child. Let them solve their own problems. Let them develop the concept of self-dependence. Let them be bored. I say this in most of my webinars, that boredom is brilliant for children. The moment they come to you, I'm bored, I have nothing to do. Great. Tell them, okay, can you find something for yourself to keep yourself busy? Because when the children are found to be bored, that's when the creativity gets higher. That's when they create something to help themselves. But at that moment, if a parent supports, if a parent helps, then they are not allowing the child to develop the creativity. So think on those lines, mommy. Are you giving immediate solutions to your children or child? If yes, then stop this habit of yours. Postpone it. Don't give instant gratification to your child. The child should suffer a bit so that the child will find the solution on his or her own. If the child cries in this process, you need not to attend the child immediately and keep saying the same thing again and again, that you really need to keep saying this again and again, that you have to really find your own solutions. So try this. This should help you. I am having a lot of questions that remain unanswered. I am sorry, I cannot take up any other questions because the time is over. So thank you so much, everybody, and kindly continue doing the great work that you are doing. Thank you.